This video is a short overview of Rudolf Steiner's picture of human development in 7-year phases. I'll only touch briefly on the basics here because we will go through the 3 phases, kindergarten, lower school and upper school, in our recorded online session. Back in 1984, when I was at Oxford, this 13-year-old girl, who we affectionately called Ruthie, could often be seen riding around on a tandem with her father. Ruthie, or Ruth Lawrence as she was actually called, was a child prodigy who had been hothoused by her father and gained an A in A-level maths at age 9. In 1985, age 13, she got a congratulatory first-class degree in maths at Oxford. And the following year she sat finals in physics at the same time as my then boyfriend, and undoubtedly did rather better than he did. This is perhaps an extreme example of what we do to children in our society, in which academic success is prized above all things. It's also the antithesis of what we are trying to achieve in Steiner education. Society sees a child as a commodity to be moulded and filled up with existing ideas. In Steiner education, we view a child as a spiritual being who is growing down into their physical body and at the same time growing up into the capacities needed to be effective in the world and fulfill their potential and their destiny. Steiner describes the journey of human development and how significant changes take place within 7-year phases throughout our life, but most significantly within the first 3 phases. Within these phases are smaller developmental milestones occurring about every 2 1/3 years. The first phase, from birth to 7, is obviously the phase in which the most physical change takes place. A child is conceived and within the mother's body is prepared for the birth of the physical body. But a human infant is born in a very immature state compared to most mammals. A human baby is totally dependent on its parents. By the age of about 2 1/3, however, most children have learned to walk, talk, and feed themselves. And at this stage, the child starts to use the word I for the first time to refer to themselves. This is the first milestone on the journey towards independent self-consciousness. During the birth to 7 phase, the child's etheric forces or life body are busy building the physical body, not just growing bigger, but also completing the internal organs and so on. If we call on these forces for other things, such as learning to read, we are drawing them away from their important work of building a healthy body. This is why in a Steiner school, formal learning starts in the 7th year of a child's life. The change of teeth is the physical sign that the etheric body has done what it needs to do, and some of its forces are available for learning. We can call this the birth of the etheric body. In this first phase of life, the child learns unconsciously, through the will, by doing and through imitation, and so needs to be surrounded by people that are worth imitating and things that are worth doing. Goodness is the key word for this phase. The child needs to experience that the world is good. In the 7th year, the child enters the 2nd phase and moves into class 1. During this 2nd phase, the child learns primarily through feeling rather than thinking. They need to form an emotional connection with what they are learning through a creative approach, through imagination, story and picture. Steiner calls this soul milk and warns against feeding the child facts and dry concepts. Beauty is the key word for this stage. Children learn because they experience the beauty in things. A helpful tool Rudolf Steiner gave to teachers is called the pedagogical law. It helps to inform our approach to teaching during the different phases of child development. In a nutshell, it means that the teacher needs to educate the child with a body that is one higher than the one which they are developing. The pedagogical law tells us that when the child is developing and strengthening their physical body, we are ideally working with them through the strength of our own etheric forces. The adult's etheric is, in a sense, educating the child's physical body. When the child is developing and strengthening their etheric body, the adult is teaching through the astral or soul forces. And when the budding youth is developing and strengthening their astral or soul body, we are teaching through the strength of our ego forces. At the age of 14, the child's own astral body is born, and this coincides with what we recognise as adolescence. In this phase, the teacher needs to educate through their own ego, their own consciousness of self. Upper school students are looking for teachers who are not only specialists in their field, but are also fired with passion. Through the passion of their teachers, adolescents are drawn out of introspection and self-interest and learn to develop a loving interest in the world. Truth is the key word for this phase, and students now have the capacity for critical thinking required to analyse, compare and contrast, and draw conclusions. These young people need to be surrounded by authenticity and experience that the world is true. So to summarise, in the first phase of childhood, goodness is the key word. The children learn through their will and through imitation. The physical body is developing, and the teacher educates through their own etheric forces. In the second phase, beauty is the key word. Children learn through their feeling, through their emotions. Imagination is important. The etheric body is developing, and teachers educate through the astral. In the third phase, truth is the key word. The children are learning through their thinking, and they need inspiration and passion. Their astral body is developing, and teachers educate through their own ego or I consciousness. So, as I said, all of this will be picked up in our online session where Anna, Ian and I will talk through the phases of the school.